Well, folks, this is Kenny with Just the Right Angle here with a breaking news event. There's supposed to be a speech by Sarah Huckabee Sanders regarding the budget budget hearings. It is supposed to start right at this time. Sometimes the government system will run late. The 2025 budget, I forget how many billions of dollars that we spend. That's everything from education to Medicaid. Unfortunately, we are spending some things on things that we don't need, such as climate change, lots of other items. You can watch me at Just the Right Angle on Rumble. This should also be on YouTube. And then I just posted this on my Facebook page. I also have a live stream on there as well. A lot of things I would like to see cut is, of course, as a former mentioned, the wasting the money on climate change. I talked about yesterday how there is some kind of grant that gives money from the state of Arkansas to 15-minute city projects. A guy named Joe McCutcheon up in Fort Smith is fighting that issue. There's been lots of other things I mentioned before that I'd like to see cut is the removal of the funding for AETN, Arkansas PBS. They have wasted money on, and one, there's been lots of examples of waste of money within ATN, and there's been lots of examples where they have been caught indoctrinating children with various leftist ideologies such as climate change and the LGBT agenda. Also, on a similar note, is the library system. There needs to be a lot of cuts made there. I don't know what's going to be done in this speech. I just have to wait and see. I just heard about this. I really wish there had been, a lot of town halls regarding this budget, but that doesn't appear to be the case. Again, this is scheduled for 9 a.m., so they're 2 minutes late. Let me make sure that I'm on the right feed. You can go to the Arkansas Legislative website right here for updates and feeds on what's going on. Bills have been filed. I think 22 bills have been filed. And they deal with everything from, okay, here we go. It's like they're just down doing the prayer. Oh, sorry.
Cozart and Jean, President Hester, and Speaker Evans, members of our legislature, thank you for having me here today to present my balanced budget. I want to thank all of the members of my cabinet who are here today and give special thanks to Secretary Jim Hudson, Director Robert Breck, and Selby McCollett. Their help has been invaluable as we have prepared for today. Not too long ago, states around the country were flush with COVID-era cash. All this federal spending spurred 50-year high inflation. In states like California and New York, officials couldn't seem to spend the money fast enough. And Arkansas got its fair share of new money as well. But unlike our blue state friends, we grew spending cautiously, thanks to the discipline of our legislators and leadership. In other states, the bill for their spending is coming due. California and New York are staring down budget deficits ranging into the tens of billions of dollars. Leaders there have proposed sweeping cuts to education, healthcare, public safety, and more. Amid this belt tightening, Arkansas's fiscal discipline stands apart. Earlier this year, we were one of only 6 states to receive the coveted positive rating from the S&P Credit Rating Agency. We've kept up large budget surpluses, and at the same time, we've continued our investments in needed priorities while delivering not 1, not 2, but 3 tax cuts, lowering Arkansas's top-line income tax rate by a full percentage point. This year's balanced budget continues that trend of fiscal responsibility. I look forward to working with our legislature to increase spending by only 2.89%. The added funding is directed toward areas we have all agreed are priorities: education, maternal health, public safety, and government efficiency. As you all know, education freedom accounts go universal next school year. Thanks to our hard work to pass the LEARNS Act, for the first time in state history, we are empowering parents to make the decision about where their child can best learn. Interest in the EFA program is high, and it's not a surprise. As a mom, I know that no 2 kids learn in the same way. When I first signed the LEARNS Act, I told the story of Jack, a boy with learning disabilities who struggled with bullies in his local school. He ran away once, twice, and a 3rd time when he was eventually found soaking wet and crying in a ditch. Jack was one of the earliest recipients of the EFA program. I had the chance to meet up with him earlier this year in his new school. And it's not just a specialized school addressing his learning needs. He's away from his bullies, making friends, and I'm happy and proud to report that Jack is thriving. There are literally thousands of stories all across Arkansas of kids who are now thriving, who have an opportunity and will be able to reach their full potential. And next year, we expect thousands more. To accommodate all those new students, this balanced budget proposes $90 million in additional funding for the EFA program, plus an additional $90 million in set-aside funding to ensure all Arkansas families have access to the full EFA amount, even if demand exceeds expectations. Maternal health has also been one of our shared priorities. We are all aware that Arkansas lags the nation in our maternal health statistics, which is why I convened the Strategic Committee on Maternal Health earlier this year, and why my administration is busy implementing their proposals. This budget includes $13 million for Medicaid to help fund our maternal health programs, and an additional $100 million in set-aside funding for Medicaid sustainability. I know all of us want to find real solutions, not headline-grabbing programs that don't actually solve the problem. This budget puts money behind that goal. The third key bucket of new funding is for our new state employee pay plan. I announced it alongside many of you last Tuesday, and I spent the next day in Pocahontas, including a meeting with the kind of frontline DHS workers this plan intends to reward. These men and women spend their days with some of the most vulnerable Arkansans imaginable. Kids entering the foster system because of abuse or neglect, parents who can no longer afford to feed their families, sick Arkansans who couldn't afford the treatments they need without our support. The new pay plan was built to give back to the state employees who give us so much. When I talked to them, the feedback was overwhelmingly positive. Not only will it help us recruit and retain these much needed workers, it will be key to our larger goal of delivering better, more efficient government for the people of Arkansas.
Would like to see
the vast majority of this plan's $102 million commitment comes from existing funding streams. But in this budget, we are also proposing $3.15 million in new funding for pay raises for our state's dedicated frontline workers. You'll find support for our state's other critical needs in this budget. Nearly $50 million for corrections, nearly $6 million for higher education, more than $4 million for the Division of Youth Services, and $1 million for foster placement. These numbers might seem small in a multi-billion-dollar budget, but their impact is enormous. I'm sure many of you saw the story this week of Jose, a 17-year-old who spent more time in foster care than any other kid in Arkansas's history. Jose has severe disabilities and will need hands-on care for the rest of his life. But that didn't stop Mary and Patrick from welcoming him into their family. His adoption was finalized last week. For the first time since we started keeping track, there are now fewer than 200 kids in Arkansas waiting for adoption. That is a huge accomplishment, and one that I know we'll build on through investments in things like foster placement. Budgets show our priorities and deliver on the promises we all spend years campaigning on: education, maternal health, efficient government, public safety, and child well-being. We all ran on improving these systems. Through this balanced budget, we can deliver on our promises. I want to thank you all again for the opportunity to be here, to present this budget, and thank you again to Jim, Robert, and Selby. I had the easy job. They spent hours and hours poring over spreadsheets, and now they get to stay behind and answer your questions. I look forward to working with each of you, getting this balanced budget passed. At the end of the day, it's really just a technical correction, so I would appreciate your vote. Together, we'll continue our work to make Arkansas the best place in the country to live, to work, and to raise a family. Thank you for your work, and I look forward to working with you on this and in the next legislative session. Thank you very much.
Oh, that's it. A bunch of funding for Arkansas Learns, and I didn't cut the volume, by the way. They did.
Members, we're going to take just a short recess. We'll come back real quick, and we'll get Secretary Hudson up and set up, and then we'll come back.
So, looks like like I said, they're going to do recess. I don't need to go over that. So basically, we're going to get more money for state officials and more money to Arkansas Learns. I didn't see much what was going to be done regarding cuts, and maybe that's in the budget, but I just didn't see that. We definitely need some cuts. And of course, there's lots of other reforms that are needed as well. I just saw this right here. Here's one thing that we can cut is the fluoride in our drinking water program. I don't know how much money it takes. Here's Courtney Roldan posted this. Ending the mandate fluoride in water. Ending discrimination, peripheral treatment by the state of Arkansas, and protecting FOIA. So this would make it harder for them to go after FOIA by requiring a 3/4 of each house and to enact or repeal laws concerning the FOIA. So there are a bunch of anti-FOIA bills that were pushed before in the last session. This would make it harder for them to do that. And then this one to prohibit discrimination or peripheral treatment by the state of Arkansas and other public entities, which you know has been going on for a while. So yeah, there's lots of bills that have been filed. There's some 3 good ones here. I'll try to keep up with what's going on, but yeah, Sarah Huckabee Sanders just basically gave a short speech regarding a budget. Again, I haven't seen the budget. Would like to see some cuts in a lot of programs that we don't need, particularly, as I mentioned before, climate change, this aforementioned fluoride program, the funding to the library system, to AETN. And there's probably a lot of government bureaucrats that just need to be fired, kind of like the same thing that Elon Musk did to Twitter and what Republicans did to Ronna McDaniel and the RNC, which is the reason why we won the last election. But anyway, I will keep up with what's going on. Follow me at Just the Right Angle for updates on what's going on, as well as YouTube, Keep Arkansas Legal. I'll make this as a recording for Podbean later on, and you all have a great day.